Welcome back. For our top international story this hour, we check in with the U.S.-Mexico border, where this week Customs and Border Protection agents fired tear gas on refugees, including women and children, as they attempted to cross the fence which stands between them and U.S. soil. The escalation comes just days after Homeland Security Secretary Kristjen Nielsen claimed over 500 criminals had infiltrated the migrant caravan.
Some continue to report that the caravan is made up of mostly women and children who are fleeing violence in the Northern Triangle. The reality is that the majority of the caravan that we see is made up of single adult males or teenage males. In addition, we have identified over 500 criminals, to include known gang members, contained in the flow of the caravan.
DHS has yet to explain how it came to that number exactly. However, Teresa Cardinal Brown, Director of Immigration Policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center, says the caravan mostly consists of families.
For the first time, a majority of those coming to the U.S.-Mexico border are not Mexican, they're not single men, they're not just looking for work. They are applying for asylum, and their children and families. And our processes, procedures, and infrastructure were not built for that at this level.
Meanwhile, AP reports some migrants are opting to head back south after encountering violence from U.S. authorities. Some of the caravanistas decided to board a bus destined for Honduras. Others say they will stay in Mexico, refusing to give up on their goal of reaching the U.S.
It's not something that happened today. It didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen this week. It happened the day the migrants arrived. We had an altercation with them. They began to push the back door, asking children for money. They wanted to use the restroom. We are spared from their situation, but it affects us.
If they don't give us asylum, well, we will have to see how we can cross, because that's our mission. It's too difficult in our countries to go back.
President Trump denied tear gas was deployed on women and children on the border, while Secretary Nielsen claimed they were merely, quote, human shields in the attack. Meanwhile, Democrats seized on the moment to claim the deployment of tear gas is un-American. For example, California Governor-elect Gavin Newsom tweeted, quote, women and children who left their lives behind seeking peace and asylum were met with violence and fear. That's not my America. We're a land of refuge, of hope, of freedom. There's just one problem with Newsom's statement. Not only have U.S. authorities deployed tear gas countless times, including on U.S. citizens in, for example, Ferguson, Missouri, but the U.S. actually exports tear gas to governments around the world. The U.S. has supplied police and military forces in Egypt and Israel, for example, with tear gas made in the USA. The weapon has been used to disperse peaceful demonstrators, sometimes resulting in death. In 2012, the hacker group Anonymous even took down the website belonging to Pennsylvania-based Combined Systems Incorporated, which produces tear gas because, quote, from the streets of Oakland to Tahrir Square to Palestine and beyond, your sinister instruments of torture and brutality have been used by the enforcers of the rich ruling classes to repress our revolutionary movements. With tear gas in question, we spoke earlier with Brian Becker, National Coordinator for the Anti-War Answer Coalition. Nice to see you, Brian.
My pleasure.
Former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton shared a photo of tear gas being deployed on the border, saying this is wrong. Is this the first time U.S. authorities have deployed the weapon on the border?
No, it was deployed 26 times in 2012, 27 times in 2013. This was during the time of the Obama administration, and of course Hillary Clinton was part of the Obama administration. The Border Patrol has been deploying CS gas since 2010. They used it less in the last year of Obama's administration, but still used it. It's picked up in terms of its usage during the Trump administration because, of course, Trump is trying not simply to repress people, which the Border Patrol routinely does. He's making a demonstration. He wants us to see children and their mothers and other vulnerable people suffering the effects of tear gas because he thinks it's a deterrent in terms of discouraging other people who may want to come and file an asylum claim. So this is a demonstration by Donald Trump, but not the first time. This is what the U.S. government has been doing at the border for the past decade.
President of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, described the images as a disgrace on Twitter. Why might some see that comment, rather, and those made by others as selective outrage?
Well, it is selective. I mean, the Anti-Defamation League, which really constitutes an organization that proclaims any pro-Palestinian group in America to be a hate organization and cooperates with the FBI in terms of targeting people who are involved in the struggle for justice for Palestine, including peaceful protests. The ADL functions as an apologist for Israel. Just in September and October, we saw the widespread use and deployment of tear gas by the Israeli government, and a Palestinian 12-year-old child died from those tear gas canisters. Did the ADL speak up about this? No, they didn't.
And in many of these instances in Israel, Palestine, that tear gas is actually supplied by the United States. Why aren't more people asking questions like whether or not the U.S. violated Mexico's sovereignty when firing across the border?
Right. I mean, these tear gas canisters were lobbed across the border, across an international border. It's an act of aggression against Mexico. It seems as if Mexican sovereignty means nothing for American political elites, Democrats or Republicans. And the reason it seems that way is that Mexico's sovereignty doesn't actually mean anything for these elites. It's a violation of Mexican sovereignty. What the Trump administration could have done, and what all the other administrations, including the Obama administration or the Bush administration beforehand, they could have had a humane approach towards people coming from long distances, making thousands of miles, trek to the United States to file an asylum claim. Those refugees could have been met at the U.S.-Mexican border, given a hot meal, given a cup of coffee, said we're going to have an orderly process to file an asylum claim. None of this was necessary. This was a staged demonstration by the Trump administration and the Justice Department and the Border Patrol to show that they're willing to do anything, just like a few months ago when they decided to rip parents and children apart because they wanted to demonstrate their absolute brutality and cruelty, to send a message to other people who have the legal right to come and file an asylum claim. You may have the legal right, but do you want to be separated from your kids? Do you want to have them tear gassed? Do you want to have them imprisoned? It's the opposite of the rule of law. The American government can't talk about sanctimoniously. It believes in the rule of law as opposed to other countries, and engage in this kind of cruel, barbaric activity against people who are family members coming together for asylum. My colleague, Gloria La Riva, traveled with the caravan. Your report before is accurate. These are families. They came, they had no food, they had no water. Many of them were barefoot. They're making this trek because they are desperate, and they have a legal right to file an asylum claim.
And yet they're treated by both parties and in the media as basically political chips.
They are, because, of course, let's remember 2009, 2010, the Democrats had the control of the House, big majority, control of the Senate, big majority, a popular president. They could have done whatever they wanted to do. They could have passed comprehensive immigration reform at that time. They could have passed Medicare for all at that time. The Democrats could have done whatever they wanted to do, and they did whatever they wanted to do, and that did not include immigration reform. They didn't want to spend a penny of political capital to defend the rights of immigrant families or to actually fix America's immigration system. You have 15 million people living in the shadows, super exploited by big and small capitalists. Give them rights. Allow them the right to have a legal process. Give them the right to unionize. In other words, if the problem of immigrants is low wages, allow workers to be treated with dignity, the right to form associations and unions. The Democrats could have done any of those things. They didn't do them.
And people have to start asking why not, and what else can be done if neither parties are going to take action on this. Brian Becker, thanks so much for your time.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.